So really appreciate everyone taking the time to join today's webinar. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Arun. So Arun and I met early this year when he started off with Ilantus. And in the brief interactions I've had with Arun, I've built a very special bond with him. His type of leadership, what I call is a patient and a very attentive listener leadership quality is what I say. I've had a few conversations with him, and it's very rare to see leaders, especially playing a global role, who can make time for their partners and their clients and actually listen to them and respond with a lot of understanding and patience, which is a very rare quality. So thank you, Arun, for all the lovely conversations we've had. A quick intro. Arun obviously is the CEO of global CEO for Ilantus. He's also Accenture and EY. He also sits on the Forbes Technology Council, which is by invitation only. And he's got some excellent, background and history and skills when it comes to this industry. So I won't, go too much into the background. The slide gives a little bit more detail, but if you just Google him, he is an accomplished, distinguished leader, and we are very fortunate to have him today for him to share his knowledge and experience in this area. Without further ado, I hand over back to Arun for him to take us into this insightful presentation. So back to you, Arun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ajay. And first of all, I'd like to really express my sincere thanks to you for giving me this opportunity to connect with your client set as well as your team there. And it was such a wonderful interaction which we had in the beginning. So Stickman is not just our partner, but a strategic partner through that we are looking forward to expand our reach to the Australian market as well as Southeast Asia to reach out to the client. It's definitely my pleasure to be part of this webinar and present my thoughts, my experiences regarding this latest topic. So let me just get into the agenda. I'll take a couple of minutes to quickly introduce Ilantus to the people who are hearing the name Ilantus first time and they are not aware of what we do and what's our pedigree. Then we'll get into the key challenges of identity and access management, which is leading towards a very new trend in the market, which is convergence of IAM. So we'll talk about what is the meaning of convergence, why it is hot, and also how it is linked with the zero trust framework, which is another keyword. Majority of people are finding that zero trust framework is one of the driver for cybersecurity entire architecture and implementation. So we'll talk about that. And then our product, Compact Identity, is one of the leader in Converged IAM space. So we'll also present that how Ilantus Converged IAM solution is, designed, and what are the core differentiator related to that.
And just
So
to
with
add over there, sorry to interrupt there, Arun. While obviously, we're trying to, help enter into the Australian market, we have worked with Islanders in Asia Pac on two very large opportunities, which were with telco clients, helping them implement a complete IAM platform solution using the Islanders platform. So we've had first-hand experience working with them in the Asia Pac region.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. It's really relevant, okay, for this audience. So with that, let me take a few minutes quickly to introduce Ilantus to all of you. So we started our journey about 2 decades ago. And in the beginning, our focus was to look at all the leading products in the market and do the implementation around that. So it was primarily focused on strategy, implementation, and managed services kind of function. But very soon we realized that what's missing in the market and all our experiential knowledge of implementing thousands of IAM engagement for Fortune 500 clients across the globe, it culminated into building our own product, which we call Compact Identity. And as the name indicates, the Compact Identity compacts all the different components of IAM into single platform and all in one IAM solution that we build. So literally in year 2018, Ilantus was reborn, and this new birth was like transforming from professional services organization to the product company. And now we are, fully focused on compact identity as a product and then driving it across the globe. And during this entire process, we got very high recognition from multiple analysts such as Gartner, KuppingerCole, Frost and Sullivan, and all of them. They looked at our solution, our market positioning, the innovation which we brought in, and given us the high ranking. I've mentioned that both Gartner and KuppingerCole, they have put us in the very high recognition in the leadership quadrant. To be able to take this product to our customer, we had established great partnership networks. So Stickman is one of our partner, and similar to that, in Latin America, in Canada, and each of these countries are Nordics. Okay, we have the partner who are actually helping us to take forward this product to the end customer. We are 100% channel driven and product company, so naturally our main focus is to create this world class excellent solution and then take help from our partner to be able to drive the success in terms of implementing it at the customer side. And on the Converged IAM side, we are currently the market leader, and we'll talk about a little bit more about this convergence and then our positioning and differentiation as we get into the details of this deck. In terms of the analyst and industry recognition, on the right hand side, I'll start with, we had actually filed 3 patents on the product which we have created, and actually the fourth one is in process. And if you look at the Gartner or KuppingerCole, in the recent report, KuppingerCole had identified us as the leader in the product category as well as innovation category, the overall product and the innovation category. Same way, Gartner had recognized our identity centric approach for providing this holistic IAM centric cybersecurity solution as one of the core differentiator. The platform which we have created to provide these solution, they are well certified by various other the certifying agencies, what you can see towards the lower part of the deck. So not going into the detail, but while we build this solution, the idea was to look at what are the market trends. And since majority of clients are moving on the cloud centric model, so we have created this secure platform and deliver this entire solution in the SaaS model. And we'll get into the detail later. From our global footprint perspective, we have through our partner network reach into each and every country. We have the local partner who can provide hands and feet support, and they can actually help do the implementation. And wherever it is really critical, we do have our own professional services team which can support the partner to be able to do the implementation. And some of the critical components or criticalities, we help deal with it directly. Overall, all the experiential knowledge is put into the solution and the product, okay, which is to transform the IAM industry with strong force and disrupt the normal course in which the people are doing the IAM deployment. How we can actually bring a very differentiated approach to solve the same problem is what you'll find. Without any further ado, let's get into the key topic of the discussion today. And before I talk about the convergence, let me build the story in a very simple term, starting with how the entire identity and access management domain, it evolved. So if you look at in the beginning, like 20 years back, it was a very simple problem which we were solving. Majority of people were talking about single sign-on, where instead of logging in to each and every application one after another, okay, can we actually log in once and then get access to all the applications in one shot? And then naturally these passwords became very important commodities, so we required to start driving the alphanumeric password and complex password, and people should actually change the password every 30 days or 60 days. And that created the need for password management solution. The self-service password reset and those kind of solution came into existence, and then integration with provisioning, deprovisioning. And very interestingly, for each of these components, there had been dedicated point solution which has started emerging in the market. There are multiple different ways you can do the authentication, and multi-factor authentication, or two-factor authentication, what people call it, biometric authentication, and those techniques. And once you authenticate users, then the next problem, how you authorize, like what all access privileges that need to be provided to them. That led to many different ways of authorization, like role-based access control or attribute-based access control. And you are aware of that. There's so many different products which came into existence. The most recent in the authorization is policy-based access management. Like there is a product which is gaining a lot of momentum, and they say that, okay, all these role and attribute, better than that, okay, why not we create a policy and handle it using those policies. The key part is what for each of these elements there are dedicated point solution which are there in the market. And managing the user IDs into a directory, initially it started with a simple LDAP directory, then came a virtual directory, and federation around that, then the full identity lifecycle management, access enforcement, administration, privileged account, session management, credential management. All of those solutions, they emerged in past 20 years into the market. And if you look at all these IAM product, you can put them into three main categories. First category, or first bucket, what you we call it as an access management bucket, where all these authentication access management solutions they lie. The second bucket, which is very prominent now in the market, is identity governance and administration. So there you see the dedicated product which excel only in IGA solution, identity governance administration. And then the third category of product which are focused on privileged account management, and they do only the PAM in a more detailed manner. While all this story is fine, but one big question started emerging, that as of today, if you need to solve your problem of identity and access management, if you need to solve the problem of providing the right access to the right people for right amount of time, then it's not an easy solution. You need to pick up, once from the first bucket, access management bucket, something. You need to pick up one or two solution from IGA bucket, and then you need to pick up something from privileged access management bucket. And in nutshell, if you go and talk to any of these organizations, they are grappling with this challenge that on an average they need to pick up 5 to 7 different type of IAM product to be able to solve their problem. They need to have access management, the directory, the authentication solution, IGA solution, PAM solution at the minimum. And then if you are having a little bit more complexity, you need to probably pick up VDS also, or federation solution. But the challenge is that as you go on this journey, the traditional approach, you need to integrate all these multiple solutions with each other. And that complexity actually takes not just the time, but also the money, and the duration what it takes to implement the solution is much longer, as compared to if it is a single product. The other big challenge in IAM is that even though you deploy this solution, you cannot draw the full benefit of identity and access management unless and until you integrate your applications in the organization into this IAM platform. I consider this IAM as a telephone exchange, and its power is only by unless until you integrate the applications, you cannot realize the power. And more number of applications, you reap the benefit in a much stronger manner. Now, this problem of application onboarding, when you look at in the traditional approach, so first, let's say you deploy an access management solution, and I'll just pick up with no priority or preference. Okay, let's say you pick up Okta or a Microsoft solution. So once you deploy that, you need to onboard all the applications, enable them for single sign-on. But then the story or your journey is not ending there. The moment you bring in an IGA solution, again, you need to do the same story. Like whether you go for SailPoint, Savient, or any of the other product, okay, again, the same story. You have to onboard hundreds of application onto that platform once again. And nevertheless, after that, when you get into your PAM solution, whether it's a CyberArk or Thycotic or Beyond Trust or any other XYZ solution, okay, you need to repeat the same story. Now imagine that the same work you are doing 3 times at the minimum, and how much cost and energy it takes. And this is one of the primary reason why the IM programs are so costly to implement and it is so difficult to manage. One of the root cause is because you are not dealing with a single product. You are dealing with the whole different product which are designed with different philosophy and sometimes overlapping capabilities. So, one product you bought from one vendor, he has got some additional capability, but not in detail what you are looking for. So you need to buy another product which is specialized into that. And all of that lead to cumbersome vendor management, budget overrun, very difficult to justify return on investment. And majority of places they buy the product but it becomes shelfware because the cost to implement and deploy is so high that the very low rate of user adoption is one of the key challenges. And naturally, like for each of these products you require to have separate expert and build the team, internal team who need to understand all of that complexity. Then only you can actually solve this problem. This is the problem which is actually driving the market towards convergence of IAM. And why converged IAM? Let me just set the stage. People are now sick and tired of buying multiple IAM niche tool and then integrating them together. They are looking for a single product, okay, which can meet majority of their IAM requirement. There are many CISOs, the chief information security officers across the globe. They are asking this question that is it really right for IAM domain to be so complex? Why can't I have a single product which help me meet my NIST requirement or the local country specific regulatory requirement? Why I need to have so many products? Then the other major challenge is that there are products which work very well in the on-premise model, like some of the first generation product, but when you want to take them onto the cloud, they are not seamlessly provide you the same kind of effectiveness and efficiency to operate on the cloud. So you need to buy one product for on-premise, another for cloud, and then spend a lot of consulting dollars to be able to integrate them together. The management maintenance is another nightmare. Your operational cost goes high, and the biggest part as a head of security, when you need to look at the integrated data from risk management perspective, you need to pull in data from various different product to be able to get the view what's happening in my environment and who has got access and all that. So the integrated dashboard is another nightmare where you need to spend more money to be able to build it. It's not available out of box. Application onboarding like Converged IAM, okay, that actually brings this simplicity that once you deploy this product, you onboard application once and it is done. And there's a single vendor to manage. The cost to deploy is very less because it's a already integrated, tightly integrated solution which is there. And the way many of these managed security service providers, they are asking that the right converged IAM solution is if it can also support multi-tenancy. And these are the kind of core requirements which are needed. There are vendors who are looking at various different ways of doing the convergence. So the picture on the right hand side, colorful picture, as you can see, that it is converging more than one component of IAM into the single platform. And people are actually extending it to see that okay, all different required components can be integrated here. Some of the people are also looking at to extend it to the physical access management. Can we bring in that also into here? There are various different ways people are stretching, but in our opinion what we are seeing the global market trend is if we can bring all the required component of IAM from regulatory compliance perspective onto a single platform, that's the best convergence, okay, which you can achieve, and that can help you generate the right ROI, cost effectiveness, and the shorter time to deploy. So with this, let me also talk about some of the market projection. Like Gartner, in their very recent report in December 2020, they published this IGA market guide, and there they have given the guidance for the production for the market. They say next 24 months by year 2023, a new category of SaaS delivered converged IAM solution platform will be preferred method for IAM, and more than 45% of new IAM deployment will be asking for that, which is very clearly indicating the trend where the market is heading. And you might have noticed that many of these vendors who had been working traditionally in access management domain, now they are looking forward to acquire product to get into the other areas. So like PAM vendors are trying to acquire IGA solution, access management vendors are trying to acquire the product in the IGA and PAM side. So all those market dynamics are now coming up in a big way. And that brings me to the second picture, which you see on the right hand side, that you need to really understand the difference between true convergence versus stitched convergence. And how I define this term is that when you build one product, let's say on access management, and then you acquired two other products to be able to create the convergence, so you are not creating a true convergence. Rather, you are actually taking multiple product and pre-integrating or pre-stitching them together to achieve the convergence. And the true convergence solutions are the one which are designed right from the bottom, keeping this philosophy in mind, that look, we require to have the common code base which can tackle the need of access, provisioning, and all other components seamlessly for the customer. And the difference between both of them, you will see in the actual performance. The true convergence solution actually scales up so seamlessly, and the efficiency and the integrated outcome, what you see is absolutely not comparable with the stitched solution. I'd like to caution that, okay, as you are picking up converged IAM solution, so please look out for whether it's a stitched convergence or true convergence solution, which is there in the market. With that, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce you to another very powerful concept in the market, which is trending a lot on zero trust framework.
But one more thing, Arun, before we go into zero trust, is it's not only stitched IAM. I see a lot of vendors saying, "Oh, we integrate with that product very well, so it's seamless. Please go ahead." And then once you get in, you realize there's 100 days of professional services involved to actually really stitch them together, right? So this whole concept of, oh, we are a plug and play solution is also causing a lot of issues in the market, especially the small to medium sector. The enterprise customers deal with IAM obviously differently, but when we talk about the medium to large organization, not the very large and enterprise, I think they are struggling quite a bit. So yeah, please continue. And guys, very soon I'll be launching a poll while Arun is continuing the presentation. So feel free to answer some questions so that will help us better address your concerns and your needs further. So please, Arun, continue. Thank you.
Yeah. So Ajay, first of all, thank you so much for highlighting this point. Like many time, people who are looking for the new IAM solution, they get carried away by this well-integrated plug and play kind of solution. And I think that's one area, based on my experience, I can say that they need to truly test it out. And the cloud native solution versus a solution which is mapped onto the cloud, they're very different type of solutions which are there. With that, let me quickly introduce this term zero trust security. So zero trust is catching a lot of momentum in the market, primarily because the old traditional model of doing the authentication once and then letting people to do all the tasks what they want to perform inside the IT systems in the organization is no more valid. And the new paradigm which is catching momentum is called never trust, always verify kind of paradigm. So here the key difference is that we need not protect our assets or high value assets only from the external threat, but we need to also protect it from the insider threat. And as the insider threat is catching, the statistics are revealing that people need to protect their solution from the insider threat. This concept is gaining more and more momentum, that every device, every user, every application need to be authenticated, continuous basis before you grant permission to do the transaction. Now, this continuous authentication brings a lot of challenges onto the building the architecture and doing the deployment. The key part which I would like all of you to understand is that zero trust is one of the core element while you are designing your cyber security. You need to keep in mind because the market is very clearly indicating that more and more attacks are happening not from outside but from inside. And also, many a time people, they don't have the wrong intention, but because of bad judgment, they actually kind of open the gate, such that the intruders and adversaries, they can get in. So it's important that we have to protect the critical asset from all different kind of use cases. And there are multiple ways people are trying to tackle this problem. And I'm sure you must have heard about software defined network or software defined firewall, where they try to create the micro segments of the network to be able to say that, look, there are different segments, and each segment has got different level of criticality of the assets which are there. And then based on those segments, I'm going to protect it. But keep in mind that the traffic which is getting in and out of those segments again required to go through this continuous authentication and verification. And as you move from on-premise to the SaaS-based solution, and you integrate many of those Salesforce or the past solutions, and you try to create your IT environment which is leveraging this cloud-first strategy, and you are going through the digital transformation, then this problem of zero trust becomes more important, because if you are not doing this continuous authentication and authorization of users and the applications, then you are likely leaving the back door open for adversaries to attack onto the system. So it is kind of becoming a de facto requirement for all the cybersecurity or information security heads to be able to look at how we can establish the zero trust framework into the network design, into the application access design and segmentation all across. How we can build the solution in a manner to be able to safeguard the critical assets from the insider threats. Now, the Converged IAM story suits very well with this zero trust architecture or zero trust framework, because it brings the not just one aspect of IAM, but it brings in one single product the complete solution to protect the access, provide the access governance, the administration of identities, as well as the super users or the system administrators who are the privileged account manager controlling their access into those micro segments. So, the converged IAM fits very well into a zero trust authentication solution or zero trust architecture, from the perspective of establishing the right foundation. And as you create those segmentation of the network, having this converged IAM solution enables you to have the right foundation to provide the proper protection of the traffic which is getting in and out of that zone. One of the element of converged IAM, like in the access management side, in place of prompting the user to go for login ID password again and again, we also handle this entire credential management programmatically or cryptographically, such that without bothering the user to be able to enter the login ID password, how we can use the multi-factor authentication in a manner that seamlessly the system can do the authentication without prompting for the user ID password every time the traffic is entering or the user is entering into the zone. So converged IAM solution, if you are considering, it can help you build the right foundation for zero trust framework, and extend your cybersecurity to the level where not looking at identity and access management domain, but also bringing your overall security operations center integration with this converged IAM domain, and also building up the risk engine which can integrate very well with security operations center. The idea is that if you have zero trust framework, converged IAM, and then it is integrated with your SOC, so it gives you the right foundation to identify the indicators of compromise early on, and you can actually do those threat hunting very easily. You can identify the wrong behavior from the internal employees or the partner or the contractor easily. And then when you feed that context to your SOC team, they can take well-informed decision or verified information based on which they can take action, that what systems need to be put out of the network to be able to protect. Ajay.
Yeah, so the next part of the presentation is about the solution itself, and I would request you all to sit back and actually look at the solution, which Arun will take us through. We have, obviously, Stickman has implemented this solution, has also architected it. It's not just implementing, understanding the business requirements, articulating that, and then putting it in the solution. Because though the solution is plug and play, and a lot of it can be taken out of the box, every client has different requirements and also different types of applications. So the poll is on there. Just 5 questions. Feel free to, complete the poll. It will give us a better understanding about where you currently are in your journey for IAM.
Let me get into now the details of the compact identity product which we have created at Ilantus. And like as this chart indicates that we have created a all-in-one IAM solution, and as you can see on the right hand side, that the combination of authentication, password management, access management, identity administration, governance, analytics, and PAM, all of that is converged into a single platform called Compact Identity. And the power of this platform is can be realized from the fact that it's cloud native. So clients who do not want to invest into on-premise solution, they can directly leverage it from any of their preferred cloud platforms. So it's a SaaS delivered solution which can be deployed in AWS, Azure, or GCP, any of these platforms. The solution is risk aware, which understands that what are the risk related data, the static and dynamic risk data, which need to be captured to be able to feed in for risk analytics. And then it is designed considering zero trust framework and enabling clients to build the identity centric holistic cybersecurity solution for their digital transformation. If I need to talk about that, what are the core innovation which we have done into this solution? So let me just move on to this chart, which talks about our core innovation. So there are 5 elements I'd like to highlight. The first element is the convergence of right IAM component onto this platform. So these are the components what I depicted in the previous chart. Okay, those are the one needed by any organization to be able to completely build their IAM story. While you do so, these components are designed in a fashion where you can switch on and off any of these components. So for example, if you have already invested in access management solutions, so you can switch on the identity governance administration component, and remaining you can you can use. And vice versa, that if you had already invested in IGA solutions, so you can leverage the authentication access management solution from this platform. So that modular nature of design actually helps a lot in terms of deploying this solution quickly into client environment. The second key feature I'd like to draw your attention, that guided help. And why I'm calling this as an innovation, because any new IAM product, when you acquire for your organization, you need to also spend considerable amount of time to train your resources onto that platform. And training is not just time intensive, but many a time people, they attend 2 days workshop, and after that how much they get into their mind or not, okay, is questionable. And then when they are not able to use the product, they make the call to the help desk, increasing the call volume, etc. So we solve this problem by creating this guided help on each screen of the product for user as well as for the administrator. And you can click on that guided help tab to be able to ask simple question to the complex question based on what you want to do. The simple question could be that you want to change the as an administrator, you want to change the password policy. You want to actually say that password expiry rule I want to change. So the moment you ask this question, it will take you to step by step. It will guide you that go to this particular corner, click on this, click on this, click on this, and here you change. So it kind of holds the administrator to be able to tell that how to make the change into the product, how to configure the product. You can also use guided help for complex tasks like onboarding an application. And typically onboarding an application require 40 plus steps. And it takes you through from each of those steps, 40 steps one by one, to be able to complete the onboarding and then test it that, oh, yes, it is working fine. And we feel that this guided help is such a strong differentiator and innovation that it obviates the need, if not completely, then it minimizes the need for training on the product and the tool. People can self-learn it at their own pace, and as they are using it, they can leverage this power. As I mentioned earlier, that application onboarding, we realize that is the biggest problem of IAM platform. And majority of time you have standard, non-standard application into your environment. Sometimes you have the connectors, available. Sometimes connectors are not available, and it's always a challenge that whether I have connector for all my applications or not. The way we solve this problem is by taking a similar route as you are familiar with Apple App Store type model, where you can go to the App Store and download any of those app. So we have mimicked the same model by creating a connector app store. So what we mean by that, that we have actually uploaded about 2,300 plus connector onto this app store, where in past 20 years, like any different connector which we wrote, okay, we kind of customized it and put it onto our connector app store. But not only that, we have hundreds of our partner all across the globe. They are also developing those connectors, the special connector, any new connector they develop. Okay, we immediately upload it onto the connector app store. So for a new IAM user, okay, it makes the story very simple that if you have any standard or non-standard application, just go to App Store, download that connector, and within no time you can integrate it with the IAM product. The next one I'd like to talk about is the containerization of the solution. So we use this containerization model in our solution architecture. And by that, what we mean that the entire code base can be deployed in the container. And imagine this container can be deployed on-premise or on the GCP or Azure or AWS, any of these platforms. The advantage of this containerized solution architecture is that those clients who are not ready right now to move on to the cloud, but let's say after a year or after 6 months, they want to move on to the cloud. So they still get exactly same code base to be deployed into on-premise model. And then whenever they are ready to move on to the cloud with very minimal effort, the same container can be deployed onto the cloud. So it actually facilitates the path in a easy manner to start with on-prem and then move on to the cloud, or start with one cloud and then move on to another cloud platform. So let's say today your policy is that, okay, you have majority of your applications on Google Cloud, but tomorrow you want to move on to Microsoft Cloud, maybe you got some good discount. So here, this IAM solution, you don't have to worry. It will seamlessly move from one platform to another because of this containerized solution architecture. And the last one in the list, I'd like to highlight the identity analytics, which is the core foundation for our integration with the SOC and other elements of cybersecurity into the organization. And it truly helps us realize the vision for identity-centric holistic cybersecurity solution. And maybe in the next slide, I can talk about it. So on this chart, as you are seeing, we actually bring this compact identity in the center. And the idea is that not just covering all the requirements of IAM, but also build a risk engine which can take the static risk data as well as dynamic risk data together and then merge it with other cybersecurity solutions which you might have, like CASB solution or MDR solution and a network security solution, and then provide an integrated feed to your security operation team such that they can have the better intelligence based on identity analytics driven intelligence to be able to apply the context and take the action to protect the organization. And this is a model which we are kind of helping and building to be able to not just look at identity management in isolation, but seeing that how IAM plays a central role in your larger IT infrastructure. Now with cloud and people working remotely from their home, and bring your own device and all those kind of new initiatives which are there in the market, that's also driving this point that identity is becoming, it is taking the new responsibility and many people are calling that identity is the new firewall. So when identity is playing the role of firewall to be able to protect and do the first level of filtering, that the person is right, the authorization is right, credentials are right. So it plays an important role, and integration with all the component becomes very, very important. Let me take a few minutes to talk about our differentiator in the compact identity. So one that our solution is pretty unique in the sense that the overall experience what you are going to have for identity, okay, will be very different. It's a single tool, single product, and that can actually help meet your majority of IAM need. And because it's already integrated or ground up built up like integrated solution, so your overall cost to deploy the IAM solution is on an average 50% or below the traditional approach what you might take. And naturally there is no cost for integration, etc. So you have to, if you are going for the SaaS model, just create a tenant and start onboarding the application. So you cut down your cost to deploy by 40%. And these are all the advantages which are quite natural because it's a all in one compact manner in which we are solving the IAM problem. Now, for our partners, we also provide them the this modular approach that they take our solution and then present it to the client, where the clients might be having the complete greenfield or they might have invested in some technology. So taking a decision whether the complete end-to-end requirement is there, or it's starting with one module first and then bring in the remaining module over a period of time, to be able to take the phased approach based on the comfort what clients have got, okay, based on their pace, providing the solution. And naturally you start with one component, and then as client is ready you can upsell the other component or bring the additional components together. But once you deploy the compact identity solution, keep in mind that complete code base is anyway there in the environment. You can switch on and off, okay, based on the need. So switch on the first component, then maybe after a second month you switch on another one, and that way you can upsell, okay, each of these component phase by phase or maybe in one shot.
Yeah, so Arun, just to jump in there, I think one of the key things what we saw in the partnership is there was a client who had very basic requirements like onboarding, offboarding, and one other requirement to start off with. They were very, very keen to get that off the ground, while the other things they kind of phased it out over a 2-year period because they had some in-house built legacy applications which needed some customization. Some of them were being phased out, so they didn't want to invest in doing IAM for that right now because the user base of those legacy apps were lesser, and they said we'll manage with the existing till the transformation program is complete. I think from a not just from a partner standpoint, but also from a customer standpoint, there were a lot of benefits. And one of the key things I saw is, most of the quote unquote renowned IAM solutions are built for the really big enterprise, right? And then when it comes to the smaller end of town clients with 5,000 headcount or under 10,000 headcount, that is where the cost to reach to and maintain those enterprise grade IAM solutions, is not even close to attainable, right? And that's where, because Stickman works, our core strength is working with startups to 5,000 headcount companies. That is where we found the partnership with Ilantus to be very beneficial, and the professional services cost was not running into millions of dollars, and that's what our clients don't want to get into, too much of customization and professional services. And that's where we found a good niche with Ilantus. While we have evaluated hundreds of other products, and we then ended up with Ilantus. So yeah, thank you, Arun. You can continue.
Yeah, so Ajay, you actually highlighted some of the very interesting points and rightly said that many of these products which are designed for enterprise grade requirement, there they have actually catered to the kind of so many different use cases. The SMB client, they never actually need to worry about those use cases at all. And they are paying for something, okay, which are never going to be used, okay, for them in their environment. So, our philosophy had always been to look at IAM, from the perspective of what is the core of the core, solve that problem first, And maybe the edge cases, the corner use cases, we can tackle it through the customization. And majority of like mid-market clients where we have deployed our solution, there we found that product fits 100% into their requirement. When we talk about the enterprise customer, they look for some of those use cases in the feature, but those features can also very quickly customized and fitted into the solution. But I liked your the comment what you made, that whether the product is rightly designed for your organization or not should be one of the core consideration by the customers. And that's where the compact identity, it actually brings that what was the core requirement of IAM. You can do everything with this. How much weightage you should give and how much money you should spend for those corner use cases is a big question. I think many of the points which you mentioned are highlighted in this chart, like what are the uniqueness for our customer. But I'd like to also emphasize that our pricing model is very simple. It's no complication. It's a plain and simple based on number of user identities, okay, which are there. And people can buy subscription based or perpetual. Both these models we are entertaining right now. So some of the clients, they want to spend early on like a little bit more and then just pay the AMC, or they want to just amortize it, run it like a operational expense. So we do understand both these requirements, and that's where we kept it very simple and no complexity in terms of looking at the application count and so on and so forth. So very simple model. And not that, okay, we are look, even though there is a pricing model is there for each of those module, but the idea is that with the moment you start integrating more than one module, automatically the discounts starts applying. And in any case, the price is much lower as compared to some of those big brothers, I'll say, okay, which are there in the market. And we want to be competitive in the market and address this market, those customers who are trying to solve the problem of IAM from scratch. And that's our sweet spot where we would like to gain the maximum market share. So with that, I'd be concluding this my part of the webinar. In case if there are any questions, I had not been looking at the chat window, but if there are any questions, Ajay, you can.
Yeah, so one question which has just come up is, how is it different compared to other products who also have other modules?
All right. So what is happening that, if you look at many of the other product companies, so they are trying to get into convergence. And that's where one comment I made, that you need to look at whether it's a homegrown, like their product feature functionality they are extending, or they have acquired another third-party tool which is written using very different platform and the language, and they're trying to stitch it together. That's one part. Second is that even though people are trying to bring in more than one capability onto the table, but what is happening is that how much overlap, okay, you are going to tolerate while you are solving this complete problem. So I'll give one example. Let's say you picked up a PAM product which also does identity administration, but it is not doing identity governance. So your story is half. So you need to go and pick up IGA tool. Now IGA tool does identity governance and administration, both these components. So now you need to compare whether I should use the functionality from PAM or from the IGA tool, which one is better. And both these companies, you are paying money. And same with the access management vendor might also offer you the same identity governance capability. Now you are more confused. That way, should I use capability from this one or that one, and which one is going to work seamlessly, which is not. And that is where the compact identity is differentiated, because it understands that what all components you need, and all those components, bringing it together, okay, into a single platform. That's how we solve the problem, and that's the uniqueness of the product.
So one question is, will there be a copy of the presentation? The answer is yes. It will go live on our website with full recording available under stickman.com.au/resources. So you will have access to that, and you'll also get an email tomorrow with the link. I think the next question is, all vendors are claiming they have the entire identity life cycle, and it's so confusing. And that's where I think, as a buyer of an IAM solution, you need to validate these things and actually see proof proof that it actually is fully integrated within the product, or are they Are they bringing in other products and plugging it in together? So Arun, you may be able to answer it a
Yeah.
little bit.
So whosoever had asked this question, this is a very, very good question. And I think for a newcomer in identity and access management, it is mind-boggling. You pick up any product and they claim that way they cover majority of component, and you are confused that what is the core strength? Are they really covering, or they have just a feeble capability, and just to checkbox that capability, they have actually added something. So whether it's a real capability or just a high level or flimsy capability, and just to do the comparison, they have actually tick box. And there are many IAM professionals. Okay, they many of the clients, they ask this question, that the entire market had become so muddy and so confusing. Initially they thought that, okay, hey, when I go to and I'll pick up one of the IGA tool. So when they went for that IGA solution, they thought it is, the product brochure says they do everything, access management to privileged access management name also they see. And it took a long for them to realize that it is just solving one part of the problem, because the other areas they say, okay, I do PAM, but it's a identity governance for PAM. Now for a newcomer, okay, it is so difficult to dissect each of those statements and figure out that what is the truth, what is the kind of just a camouflaged statement to confuse the buyer. And it is important from that perspective to be able to either rely on some of these analyst report, okay, which very clearly say that, okay, how the products are put into category. But majority of product as of now in the market, they are either solving one problem, access management, or IGA or PAM. There's hardly any product vendor which is solving all of them together.
And just before COVID, I had attended Kupinger Kohl's identity workshop in Singapore. It was so evident, that the market, in fact, the word life cycle itself is used very loosely.
Yep.
So I may say my life cycle of of identity has this 6 areas. Another person will say there are 7 areas, but there is one aspect or knowledge base on what does life cycle actually mean, and then there is what the vendor says, right? At the end of the day. So our role as a consultant, right, is to bring, in fact, some opportunities for IAM when the client has come and said, "Can you do all this?" In fact, if he can't do it, we just say, "Sorry, this product doesn't do it," and that's where we play the role of a consultant advisor. It's not that if we can't work with Ilantus on a particular deal, we and Ilantus honestly tell the client, sorry, if you want this specific thing, it can't be done. It can't be done. We are upfront about it, and that's how we build the trust, right? So it's important to understand life cycle. From what concept are you looking? Are you looking at from the internal business life cycle of identity, or you're looking at the entire identity life cycle? Then one of the slides which Arun you had in the beginning, which had all these little bits and pieces coming up, that's so many aspects of identity. So
Yeah.
there are more questions coming. We have just finished at 5. I just want to acknowledge we are happy to continue, guys. And Arun, thank you. I know it's past 2 a.m. in Texas for you. Really appreciate you. It doesn't even look like you. It's 2 a.m. there for you. You're fresh and awake. So I'm sure you'll be happy to continue. So some more questions quickly. There are multiple, so I'll try and consolidate. So what would be the ideal approach for someone just starting IDAM journey? I mean the core components plus add on others as we progress. Do we need any other product other than Azure ID like MIM to work with this? So
Yeah.
those are the 3 questions. It's in the chat box too. If you can have a look, you can reflect on the questions.
So I think this is a very good question. So if you are starting your journey afresh, so it is very important to recognize that where the entire market is heading towards. I would strongly discourage you not to buy the individual tool. You should definitely look at the Converged IAM solution, because this is exactly meant for those people who are starting their journey and there's a green field. They want to solve the problem, now, and move from manual to fully automated solution. If you look at some of these analyst report, they'll talk about that many of these big players, okay, there is a inertia, like to be able to make each and every component so mature. So for example, like the one which you mentioned without taking the name, okay, they are very good in authentication, access management side, but they are very weak on this lower spectrum. And that is where I'd recommend that having little bit analysis done, that what is the market feedback and what are the people are talking about, those solution will help you take the decision whether it's the right product or not. You need to pick up a solution which brings the full suite of access management, full suite of identity governance administration, and full suite of PAM, and that will actually kind of completely solve your IAM problem.
Is Azure ID enough, right? So obviously not Islanders, but there's, I think someone is looking at Azure
Yeah.
ID. Will it cover all of this? Is it Converged IAM, Azure ID, or will it need other MIM or other tools to complement from your
Yeah, so
experience, Arun?
so Microsoft is our partner also, and I was kind of very careful in terms of making the statement. But I would say that the report which I mentioned, the Gartner market guide, if you look at, they listed three products, into the converged IAM space. Naturally, Ilantus is one among them, and apart from that, Microsoft is there, and there is one more product, which is there. So Microsoft is certainly looking at to solve the problem, and they are also looking for this convergence. However, in the market, majority of places they are known for access management. That is the most mature. Azure Active Directory is the most mature, access management solution where it is used. Most of the clients, if you do the survey, you'll find that along with Microsoft Azure AD, they are either using some IGA tool and a different PAM tool. The PAM is very feeble. Okay, it's not at the level of maturity where it should be, and IGA is still evolving. So you need to apply that. If your organization has got a very simple use cases, it might be sufficient for you. But otherwise, looking at that, how you want to tackle the identity lifecycle, access certification, governance, administration, you might need to look at the other solutions in the market.
CI is not an enterprise grade product or solution, or can it cater to requirements of startups and enterprise?
I would like to, first of all, clarify this point that compact identity can tackle to the need of enterprise as well. But when I mentioned that, okay, it is most suited for the mid market, primarily because in the mid market you get the greenfield, okay, where they have not invested in any of the technology. So if you are a greenfield, that's where you realize the maximum benefit. In enterprises, you have some component already in place, and most of the enterprise clients where we are talking to, we are seeing that, okay, they have some IAM solution in place, and they are either trying to solve the customer or consumer IAM problem right now, or they are looking for passwordless authentication. And the niche solution, they are not looking for convergence at the pace what mid market is looking for. They are still into the niche area because of the previous or the last prior investment there. And that's the reason our positioning, okay, we have defined in the way, as I said.
Wow, that was a full flurry of questions. So thank you so much. Let me quickly double check if there are more questions or questions I have missed asking. Yeah, so we answered most of Niranjan and Hiren's questions. So there you go, Hiren is, we've answered Hiren's question. So yeah, so essentially, as I said, guys, we chose to partner with Ilantus primarily to cater to our mid-market customers, obviously from startups to 5,000 headcount. That's what Stickman specializes in, but that doesn't stop you from taking this to the enterprise level, like how Arun mentioned, right? So yeah, really looking forward to helping and supporting any of you. And it's not about selling a solution or a license for us as a business. At the end of the day, I think the partnership with Islanders has been a very outcome based. Because they also come from a professional services background in implementing IAM. What I really enjoyed and my team enjoyed in the journey is they being very outcome focused, not saying, "Oh, how many licenses can we sell?" and then sit back and watch the fun like most vendors do, which is very difficult in a mid market sector. And like I have walked into organizations with thousands of licenses never being used, just because either budgets were cut for no professional services, or they realized too late in the game that this is not a plug and play solution. So for us, the journey with Islanders, though it's been about close to 2 years, we've been working on a APAC market. Now we are focusing on Australian market, is to focus on helping small to medium enterprises, which is up to that 5,000 headcount companies, which is Stickman's sweet spot. And yeah, if you guys want to have a no obligation, no pressure sales conversation, that's not how we approach. We are happy to educate, empower, and then engage. So till you are completely assured that this is the right product for you, we are even happy. In fact, some clients we have offered, and we are also going to offer a few clients, and I've spoken to Arun about it, a more aggressive approach saying, give us 2 or 3 applications. We are willing to put our money where our mouth is. We will actually implement it. You can use it in production for 3 months. And if you're satisfied, then we talk commercials. And obviously we can do. Obviously, each engagement will be customized to each client's requirement. But we're willing to take that level of commitment and risk to work with our clients as a true partner, not as saying, oh, we've sold you the license now. Unless you pay the consulting, we'll not. That's not our approach. So we want to really partner and show what we can actually accomplish for you. So there is my contact details, Arun's contact details. Feel free to reach out. Go to our website. The recording of the webinar will be available tomorrow on our website. I've shared the link, stickman.com.au/resources, and hopefully we can work in the Australian market very soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Ajay. It was such a great pleasure, delivering this, session, and you made it really interactive. I'm also thankful to the participants who asked the question.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. All the best, and be safe and look after your families. So thank you.